Today, um, this is kind of like the first presentation we've done in a while that's really like something that at Exos that we take away from like what we learn when we do our trainings and stuff like that. So it's really um kind of the same stuff our company preaches to us as health and fitness and health and wellness leaders in the industry that we want to share with you. But overall, the theme for this is really just helping you guys being able to set your game plan for success in 2025, whether it's this, I mean, obviously we're here for health and wellness, right? But this could be career oriented. I mean, this isn't like this presentation isn't necessarily like just health and fitness goals. You can really apply this to whatever you want to apply it to. So first here, we're going to talk about making a change. Um, so as we all know, change can be hard. Whenever we start any endeavor, whether, like I said, it's health and fitness related or something completely different, it requires change. Um, if something we wanted didn't require change, we would already have, we've already have made that change or that difference in our life. If we want something different out of our lives, it requires us to act and behave differently, making different decisions, taking different actions, etc. So it does come with this problem. Change is hard. You see some stats there. 49% of people make a New Year's resolution. 79% of those goals involve improving health and wellness. Only 9% of those people see it through. Um, so, um, why, when it comes to health, why do people make this or kind of choose this? Because, at some fundamental level, it's important to take care of yourself. And not just for yourself, but those around you, and those that you care for. You can't, the old adage, you can't save someone else's life, or sinking ship if you don't save yourself. So if we know health is important and that there's a need for change, what we're going to try to nail down is why is it so hard to see this through? And obviously we want to try to make you see it through. Why is it only that 9% number that we see there? Okay. Um, so we're going to talk about kind of the perception of change a little bit here. So people tend to see change as a mountain. So um, far above and beyond where we are now. It's going to take a long time to accomplish. For some, this perception can be exhilarating and can inspire you to push forward. But for others, for most, it's a daunting task. It may cause you fear, anxiety, or even discouragement to proceed. And really, the first sign of any lack of progress, you never think you're going to reach the peak. Other times it's perceived as simple, right? Just a little hill. It's easy. All I have to do is climb up it. All I have to do is exercise and eat healthy, etc. While some change is simple, it's still difficult. Perceiving change is kind of a way, or perceiving change this way kind of oversimplifies our goals in the process. And this could make you kind of go from that 0 to 100 that we've talked about in previous presentations where it's not sustainable. So what is the right way to perceive change? So talking about changing our perception here, you have to view change as a process, like that picture shows, and like in the marketing we use, it's like building a house. You can't have a finished product without laying the foundation, building the framework, and making sure you have the plumbing, electrical, etc. installed. So let's get into kind of where does building a house start? Okay, with the blueprints, a step-by-step detailed process. So this is kind of our starting line. Just a nice quote here from a writer, Margaret J. Wheatley. Without reflection, we go blindly on our way, creating more unintended consequences and failing to achieve anything useful. This is because what we have found at Exos is that reflection is a tool for progress. So reflection is kind of what those sheets are based out of to get you to think and reflect. It's a really powerful part of a fitness journey, being able to stop at the end of every day and reflect positive, negative, etc. Reflection is what allows us to analyze ourselves as we act on any goal. We can use reflection to analyze our past decisions, our decisions in the moment, and even prepare for the future. For today, we're obviously going to use some reflection practices like those sheets to determine our readiness to change and progress towards your goal. Okay, so first, we're going to kind of take inventory here. Um, the first step is to take inventory of where you are now on the inside. This will help reveal your true starting line or your starting point and identify some of the behaviors that you need to change in order to progress towards your goal. Okay. So the first item we're going to look at is values. The first item in our inventory. Values are the principles and standards that you live your life by. These are the qualities and attributes that are important to you. If you are unsure of what your values are, you can use that kind of values exploration sheet. Dillon, you'll get this after this to explore kind of and use that as a supported resource as well as us. Okay. Secondly, this is the second handout you're getting motivations. Okay. Take inventory of your motivations. What is it that inspires you, desires you to change? Motivations typically come in two forms, extrinsic and intrinsic. Extrinsic motivation usually refers to external rewards for a behavior and usually involve things like money, fame, praise, and other things like that. Intrinsic motivation is internal reward. So, um, these tend to drive action more naturally and more satisfyingly for you, and you have those deeper emotional connections towards your actions. Um, Wanting to be healthier so you can have more energy to play with your children or grandchildren tends to have a deeper connection than wanting to win a medal in a race. Not that they can't go together. It's important to explore intrinsic motivations behind your change, as those are kind of going to be your anchors to successful outcomes. And then lastly, in our inventory box, we need to evaluate your actions. Um, are your actions and decisions aligned with your values and motivations? Odds are, if you're looking to make a change, they actually might not be. So identify those actions and make sure you notate those. Okay. Next, we're going to move on to what's your capacity. So we did inventory. What's your capacity to achieve these? Um, when we look at these, the first one we're going to look at, or in terms of like a resource, is time. Okay, that's always when we talk to people, the biggest limiting factor is they feel like they don't have enough time. Um, so if you have the goal of exercising more, have you thought about when you're going to do that? How much it will require? Speaking of time, how much it will require? The same goes with eating healthier. This sometimes requires more cooking at home. Have you thought about, are you going to have time to do that? We understand that time is a limited resource, and the only way to make more time is to prioritize your actions. Remember that, the actions that don't align with your values or those motivations that you've been hopefully starting to think about. This is where we can find the time to prioritize your goals, reduce or even eliminate the time sinks that are not aligned with those values and those goals to make room for what is going to benefit and help you progress. Next resource, capacity of energy. All actions obviously in life require energy from our cellular level on up. You have to evaluate where your energy levels are currently, day to day. Do you feel energized throughout today? Not only today, but how do you generally feel this month? Summer versus winter, etc. Good, good, easy way is on a scale of 1 to 10, keeping track of how is my energy today, and even doing that throughout the day. One having little to no energy, 10 being I'm high energy on these days or this time of the month or whatever, or this month in the summer. If you're too tired in the evening to work out, right? So this kind of goes into making your workout schedule, right? So if you're too tired in the evening, find the time during the day or the morning when you have noticed you have that extra energy. While energy is limited, like time, there are strategies that you implement to help improve those energy levels and use that extra energy to act towards your goals. And we'll outline those a little bit later. Uh, Third resource here is knowledge. That's what we're here for as well. So you're obviously in a good spot where you have other resources at your disposal to gain more knowledge. If you don't know it yourself, as well as the internet, obviously making sure we're using discretion when we use the internet. But do you know what you have to do in order to accomplish your goals? Do you have the strategies and know how to implement them? If not, this is where us, your Exos team, can help you. We're here to help you build that toolbox and give you the right strategies to progress forward. Um, you know, Fortunately, the amount of knowledge you gain is entirely dependent on how dedicated you are to building that knowledge base. So that means, the means by which you can get information, like I said, is pretty much endless between us, internet. It's just, you know, filtering out the quality of that information can be hard. So make sure there's sources you rely on. They're science-based, not just the next fad diet, next, fad exercise, modem. If you have any questions, reach out to us. All right. Um, let's see. I think there's one more. Yeah. Some other tools, kind of the tools that you're actually going to be using, equipment, apps, etc. Do you have the right tools for your job? If your goal is to build strength, but you only have 5 pound dumbbells, is that really going to, for us, some of us, that's a good starting point, but is it going to allow you to progress? It's going to be very difficult to build strength, obviously, past that 5 pounds. Tools can vary from actual piece of equipment to apps, different programs, like a 4-week program, for example, that somebody's wrote. Obviously, you have our fitness center and our facility and us to kind of cover all of those bases, other than the apps. So now that we kind of have an understanding of our starting line and the resources and the capacity that we need to dedicate to our goal, let's start to kind of, look at our actual goal. So making our way towards the finish line. You can't ask for directions if you don't know the destination. Okay. So this one, if you want to write down, it's not on the sheets, but since you have paper, this is kind of a good one to write down. Like, just number one, what is your goal or what are you trying to achieve? So if you want to go ahead and write something down, if you have, again, maybe you have multiple goals, but maybe the one that's top of your list. Okay. So after you've written that down, like question number one is, do you have a clear goal? So if like myself or TJ came and just read that one sentence that you just wrote down, would we know exactly very clearly what your goal is? Like, again, an example is, I want to lose weight. Like, that's fairly clear, but is it like, I want to lose a number of pounds? Is there a why? Is there, how clear is that goal? Second question for yourself, are you able to define that goal as long-term or short-term? Okay. A long-term or short-term goal, looking at that one sentence that you wrote down. Obviously in your head, you can answer all these, when you're thinking of your goal, but when you look at exactly what you wrote down, what does it tell you? Secondly, we touched on this. Is it intrinsic or extrinsically motivated? What's motivating that goal that you wrote down? Okay. And then the last question, well, not really a question, but if any of these you answered no to, or were like unsure of what is defining your goal, I'm sure we've all heard of this in professional development and stuff like that, but we'll just touch on SMART goals. So using a SMART goal if you were unsure or you had a hard time answering any of those questions. So S in SMART, specific, basically you need to make sure it answers your question. This question answers the who, what, when, where, why, essentially. And that goes into that kind of, is your goal clear or not? Second, measurable. Okay. So qualitative versus quantitative, that's, how it doesn't have to be one or the other. There's different ways of being measurable. But how are you tracking progress? Is it quantitative? So is it measurable numerically, right? I'm on a scale every day. I see that number. Or is it qualitative? Is it measured by feelings and patterns, stuff like that, versus a really strict number? Okay. Attainable. So is this goal realistic? Probably a good starting point. Can it be attained by normal, healthy means? Is another way to look at that if it's coming to a fitness goal. Relevant. Okay. So this kind of goes in with those worksheets that you have. Does your goal align with your values? So looking at that sentence you wrote, and as you started thinking about your values, a goal has to be aligned with your values if you want to accomplish it. This may take more exploring into your motivations and values. We didn't do a ton of it yet, but again, encouraging you to do those worksheets later on. But having our wants and desires align with our values is what's going to truly lead to success in accomplishing a goal. And then the last one in the T of the SMART is time-based, having a deadline. When do you want your goal to be accomplished by? All right. So again, those are SMART goals, a pretty common thing. I'm sure we've probably heard of it before, but just wanted to cover it. So now kind of the fun part, planning and taking action, right? So it's time to start building what we call a game plan at Exos. Okay. So that's kind of our ingredients to a game plan. If you ever go to any sort of Exos training. So when it comes to game plans, we work through 6 different components. These components are reflection, sleep, fueling, daily movement, training, and regulation. So each serve an important role in improving your performance and helping you accomplish the goals. So hopefully you guys have noticed, whether it's lunch and learns or our programming downstairs, that we try to talk about all of these things, right? We don't just care about you coming to our classes. TJ wants to talk to you about nutrition. We've talked to a lot. We ask you how you're sleeping, stuff like that. So it's really a big part to make sure you guys are thinking about all of these things. Um, so when we say training, this refers to a specific movement that is done with the intention of adapting your body in a specific way. So this usually looks like, a dedicated fitness session in a gym or at home. Fueling refers to our individual nutrition habits, how we fuel our body. Sleep, of course, the quantity and quality of sleep. So it's not just quantity. We try to ask you guys about how you're sleeping as well. And we've done presentations on how to improve that quality as well. Regulation, this refers to strategies one can use to better prepare for different moments in life. These strategies can reduce stress in the moment, one of those where you need to calm yourself down, or maybe you need to bring yourself up. And then reflection, we talked about that at the beginning a little bit, kind of the things you're doing right now. Maybe that's a journal at the end of every day, writing a sentence down on how your day went. And then daily movement is the only one that didn't really get touched on. That is more the way you move just throughout the day that you don't really think about. Do you take the stairs or the elevator? Do you park farther away so you have a few more steps in the day, or are you parking right next to the door? That's kind of what goes in your daily movement. But even like taking a work call on a walk, right? Where you kind of maybe put that in your training routine, but that's considered daily movement because you're still going kind of throughout your normal day with your work life, and you're finding a way to move as you work. Okay. So now we're going to talk about that foundation, laying that and improving your capacity, those capacity components that we talked about. So we'll start at the base, kind of sleep, daily movement, and fueling. Okay. So while each component that we talked about is important, some of these components, these 3, are fundamental in laying the foundation for change in that they impact your ability to build resources. Okay. Um, Sleep, daily movement, and fueling are the strategies that are going to make the biggest impact on your health life if you're lacking in either quality or quantity, as I mentioned with sleep. Okay, these are going to build our foundation. Um, Training and regulation, kind of our middle of the pyramid here. These come after, and then reflection applies to all the components and helps you see how you can improve. Okay, so reflection is kind of the tip because you need to be reflecting on all of those aspects, not just one. Okay. So we'll kind of, we've gone into kind of a lot. We've had sleep before. We'll continue to do feeling talks with TJ and giving materials like that. We obviously train you down in the gym, and we've given presentations on plyometrics and stuff like that. So you can kind of see why we do all these different components of the pyramid. All right. So we'll talk just a little bit about some of them. So sleep, even though we've had a webinar, as you can see, resources, sleep webinar, we've done that. If you weren't there, didn't get the slides, just reach out to us. Sleep webinar, that's a good resource. Your Exos coaches, plenty of apps as well out there that are helpful for sleep apps, having a wearable, etc. So always aim for 8 hours if you can, but consistency is key. So the quality of sleep plays a huge role in supporting your health, and consistency is the first step in improving that. Aim to go to bed and wake up the same time every day, whether it's Friday, Monday, Saturday, okay, even on the weekends. And then the last one is kind of this 3-2-1 rule, which I hadn't heard of before, but it's pretty simple. So 3 hours before bed, your last meal, 2 hours before bed, your last beverage, 1 hour before bed is when you start to remove those light sources, right? Turn off the TV, try not to have the phone, stuff that we talked about during that sleep presentation. That's very hard for us to do, right? Daily movement. Okay, so resources, we have stretch and movement breaks, right? Every single day that are virtual. And then those things that I talked about, they kind of note it here, parking further away than you normally park. taking the stairs versus the elevators. And then when it comes to like intentional movement at work, um, are you going for walks with your dog, etc. And then even like at Exos, they really harp us on like scheduling our meetings at weird times, ending it at 55 or 50, so nobody has a back to back, that automatically puts like that 10-minute or that 10 or 5 minute break between meetings. So you don't have a 1 o'clock, a 2 o'clock, straight through. So, and then that gives you those 5 minutes to go walk around or, go grab a healthy snack or whatever. Okay. Fueling, obviously resources, talking with TJ. We've had nutrition webinars and we'll continue to have more nutrition webinars. We do our monthly collab with the cafeteria. Those are usually pretty good options as well. So nutrition, obviously extremely individualized component. It's best addressed by working with someone like TJ, to be honest, or using resources online like a dietitian or whatever. But nutrition has its fundamentals as well. The first step is to creating a well-balanced meal, a balanced plate. An easy way to do this is structure your plate. Half of the plate being an assortment of different colored vegetables. And then a quarter of the plate roughly of protein. TJ could probably get into 30 grams of protein, whatever you want to call it, and the last quarter containing carbs. Okay, so half, quarter of those three things is a good place to start. Not only should we be focusing on the balanced meals, 3 times a day, but also balanced eating schedule. So feeling throughout the day. This includes eating a balanced meal at breakfast, lunch, dinner with healthy balanced snacks in between meals throughout the day. Um, you know, Usually every 3 to 4 hours can help. You might feel a big difference in your energy levels if you're adding that healthy snack in between meals. Um, and then especially with an increase in activity, we've been talking about this a lot with people coming down to the gym more, upping your protein intake. So aim to eat enough protein that's going to support your goals. It's the building block of a strong nutrition game plan. It supports healthy muscle growth and recovery. A lot of people going from nothing to a lot are complaining about soreness. Protein, water intake, this is really going to help delay that soreness and keep you coming back to the gym and not feel like you have to take 3 days in between a workout. A general rule of thumb, this isn't the greatest, but 1 gram of protein per pound of ideal body weight is kind of the way to go. And that's kind of where we'll wrap up. So we didn't really go in depth on every single one of those 6 components, but just wanted to highlight the foundational ones, which is where you're going to build your kind of building blocks off of.